Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's group call. I was just saying to the team that are here live that we do a Q&A like every couple of months or so, just because I always want to make sure that I am helping you guys as much as possible and actually giving you guys information that you need and you want answers to and stuff that's genuinely useful. So I've got some questions straight from some of you guys inside the program that sent them across to me either yesterday or this morning. So thank you for that. We're just going to dive straight in. I've got 5 questions for you covering different topics. First one, does it matter if I eat dinner later? Great question. And I think this can be a bit confusing. So the first thing that we need to remember is that when it comes to like meal timings, remember that you and I, you plural, me, we are not athletes. We're not elite level athletes. We're also not pro bodybuilders. So in terms of like meal timings, and I'm sure you maybe see some stuff about this online, it's not really something we need to be like overly concerned about. But there's a couple of different caveats to this question. So eating dinner later, does it matter for fat loss and for overall weight loss? Does it affect weight loss? Absolutely not. It's a big misconception. I know that, we used to be told, oh, if you eat your dinner later, you're not going to digest it, you're going to gain weight overnight because it's like in your stomach. It's complete bollocks. Your body doesn't know the difference between night and day. Your body doesn't know the difference between Monday to Tuesday, Tuesday to Wednesday. The main thing that matters for weight loss is how much you are eating. And that's why all of you guys are logging your food. We need to know exactly how much you're eating, how many calories you're consuming, so we know for a fact that you're in a calorie deficit and you're going to lose weight. That is the overall most important number one thing with weight loss. How much are you actually eating? You could eat all of your calories at 9 a.m. and you could eat all of your calories at 1 a.m. Not something I'd recommend, but you could do that and you would still lose weight. So on paper, no, eating your dinner later doesn't do much for weight loss. However, one thing to caveat is that for overall performance and your energy, this then can have maybe a slight impact. So, for example, let's say, I don't know the full context of this question, obviously, but let's say, for example, you're someone who has had their breakfast, had their lunch, working all through the afternoon, and then you've gone to the gym fairly late, let's say like 7 p.m., and then you're getting home. There is potential that you were maybe not the most fueled for your workout that you could have been. Let's say if there's been a really big eating window between your lunch and then your workout. Let's say it's been like, I don't know, let's say you had your lunch at 1, you go into the gym at 7. 6 hours, your meal from lunch is going to be fully digested by that point. And it's very likely that you might not have all the energy you could possibly have to attack your workout with as much energy as possible. Like I said, we're not athletes, we're not bodybuilders, we don't need to be granularly making sure we're doing the perfect meal timings or anything like that. However, we do still want to make sure that we're getting the most out of our workouts, building muscle as well as losing fat, getting stronger, feeling all those benefits. So if you're having a really big gap between lunch and dinner and you're training in the middle, you could be potentially missing out on feeling really good in the gym. So if that's you, it's not a problem. I would recommend just have some sort of snack before you go in for your workout, like 30 minutes, an hour before. Have some fast acting carbs. What I mean by fast acting carbs is simple carbs. So things like fruit, things like a bagel, white bread, cereal, honey, all that sort of stuff. These are called simple carbs. They're not complex carbs. Complex carbohydrates are things like whole grains, lentils, black beans, amazingly good for you, but they take longer to digest because they are complex. They have less sugar in them compared to simple carbs. So amazing to have, but having them before a workout can feel really heavy in your stomach, can be hard to digest. So it's really good if you do have a big eating window between, if you're feeling hungry going into the gym, have some fast acting carbs instead. Have a bit of toast or have maybe a protein shake with a bit of fruit on the side. Maybe have half a bagel with some honey on it, or maybe have a little bit of cereal or something. Those fast acting carbs are going to give you a really quick release of energy, means that you attack your workout. So we don't need to be too granular with meal timings. It's not going to impact your weight loss at all if you eat your dinner at 9 p.m. But if there's a big eating window between when you're going to the gym and when you're having your next meal of the day, if there's a really big window, you might be missing out on some stuff there. Also, just one thing to bear in mind as well, that if you're someone that struggles with sleep, if you have a really late dinner, that can affect sleep a bit because basically your body is going to be digesting the food. Again, not going to impact weight loss, But if you do struggle with sleep, or if you wish your sleep was better quality, just something to think about. Maybe try and bring your dinner slightly earlier in the day if you do it regularly, because it will help you to sleep a little better because your body's not going to be trying to digest everything so much. So, in short, no, it doesn't matter, but we want to make sure we're still fueling well for workouts and things. Next question. Does women's specific protein powder help with bloating? In short, no. And I have a couple of things that I want to say about women's specific protein powder and really like women's specifically branded supplements. Not all of them, but a lot of them are a complete scam and a complete waste of your money. Female targeted protein powder is exactly the same as any other protein powder. All they do is they make the packaging more girly or more traditionally girly. They slap a pink label on it and they put pink tax on it. So they charge you more for it. And it's exactly the same and does exactly the same thing. So, first of all, just be wary of female targeted products. Obviously, there are some supplements that are completely female targeted. Like, for example, I have always struggled with my skin most of my life. I've always suffered, like, I had terrible acne as a teenager, tried lots of medications. I'm currently taking a supplement that is all natural from plants. It's called Botanical. It is female targeted and specifically targets female hormones to help balance out your skin. It's made a really big difference to me. I'm taking it for a couple of months. It's really good. That is genuinely targeted to females and targeted for a specific reason. So I'm not going to sit here and say every single supplement or product that is targeted to women is a scam, but just do your research. A lot of them are. There is no such thing as a protein powder that can be targeted for women. If there is one day, I will eat my hat, but I am yet to find one. It is honestly a massive scam. When it comes to bloating specifically, feeling bloated having protein powder, like having whey protein specifically, is quite common. That usually comes from specific ingredients. That can be from the lactose, from the whey, it can be from the artificial sweeteners, or it can be from the thickeners that's in there. Um, Not demonizing protein powder in any way, not saying it's bad. Like I have a protein shake every day. I have plant-based protein powder because I don't eat dairy. But they're not inherently bad, but that stuff can cause a bit of bloating with people and like just a bit of digestive upset, I guess, and that can be quite common. So a product that's marketed towards women probably does still contain these triggers, unless it's actually something that's specifically formulated for sensitive stomachs or sensitive digestion. I'd be looking out for that rather than a women's specific protein powder. So in short, women's specific protein powder is a scam. Don't waste your money on it. Just get a decent protein. Try and find one that's got a decently good formula. Try not to go for just the cheap of the cheap if you can avoid it. Try and go for one that's formulated really well. I personally always use my protein. There's other good ones out there. I hear good things about NutriGeeks. There's loads of different ones that you can have. But for me personally, I always use my protein. It's really not very expensive. It's very cost effective. There are tons of flavors to choose from. It's really easy to order it online. If you order on subscription and if you order it via their app, you end up saving money on it every single month. It's super easy, just arrives at my door every month and I don't have to think about it. So I personally always use my protein. There are other brands, but I would never ever go for a women's specific protein powder. Also, avoid diet protein powder. Diet whey, diet protein powder is exactly the same. It just has less protein in it and less calories. So you might as well just have a normal protein powder, which has more protein in it. Again, they bump the price up on that and just rip you off. So avoid women specific, avoid diet whey. Next thing, should I eat back the calories that I've burned through exercise? Fantastic question. This is a big misconception. I'm sure you guys hear a lot, and maybe you've said this yourself. I used to. Oh, I've had a biscuit. I'm going to go burn it off in the gym. Our bodies don't really work like that. And it's not really how it works. So, not automatically is the answer. Your body burns calories all day through loads of different things, just through your metabolism, just through existing and living, through digestion, through daily regular movement, and through exercise. So, exercise is actually a really tiny amount of how much is contributed to how many calories you burn. You do a lot more burning through just living day to day, daily regular movement throughout the day, digestion, metabolism, all that stuff. Exercise actually only counts for a very, very, very small amount of calories that you burn on a daily basis. So it's not as simple as I've eaten 5 calories, so I need to burn 500 calories. It doesn't really work like that. Also, just something else to bear in mind, your smartwatches can be really great, lots of great benefits. I don't personally really use one because I'm not someone that really wants to know how many calories I've burned in a workout. I personally couldn't care less. I only really use like I use my phone to track my steps, and that's kind of it. I don't personally really use a tracker. I have done in the past. I've not used one for a couple of years. Adam wears his Apple Watch every day, absolutely loves it. I think it's very much dependent on the person, but exercise calories from a smartwatch are often incredibly inaccurate because it doesn't know the ins and outs of your body. It's not taking into account how much you weigh, how tall you are, your gender, how active you are on a day-to-day basis, the daily movement. It doesn't often take that stuff into account. So it can be really inaccurate. So I would not go by that. But also a mindset shift. We don't want to be using exercise to either earn food or cancel out food or punish ourselves. Exercise is not a form of torture. It doesn't need to be seen as a form of torture. It actually can be a source of positivity. It can be fun. It can be enjoyable. And we don't want to be thinking of, I'm just doing this as a chore because I have eaten X, Y, Z. That's a very slippery slope and can cause a bit of a negative relationship to exercise, one that is based on punishment rather than positivity. So, no, you don't need to eat the calories or eat back the calories you've burnt through exercise. Stick to the calorie goal that we always give you in Everfit. The one in Everfit is the one that we have personally calculated for you. Let your overall activity contribute to your overall deficit. Like I said, exercise itself, like your workout, is only going to account for a very small amount of the calories you burn daily. Your daily movement throughout the day is going to do so much more. That's why all of you have a step target. The reason why we do that is because daily steps is going to do way more for weight loss than a short burst of exercise will. Both are great, both work great together, but the steps are going to be the thing that burns overall calories more regularly. So stick to the calorie goal that we've given you. We have already factored in your activity levels into the calories that we give you. So for those of you that are more active, we've taken that into account. For those of you that are maybe new to training, mainly only working out a couple of days a week, we've also taken that into account. So you don't need to worry about that, basically. Two more questions. What if I've massively overeaten one day? Fantastic question. The main thing I want you to take away from that is overall, do not punish yourself, do not overcompensate. The main thing to do is just get back to normal. If you have a day where you're like, oh, I went slightly off kilter and I'm like 100, maybe 200 calories over my daily goal, my advice for you there would be that's fine. For the next couple of days, scale back your calories by 100 or so. Let's say your calorie goal is 2000. I would say, okay, eat 1900 for the next 2 days. That will balance you out and you will hit your weekly deficit. That's if you go over by a small amount. If you go way over, let's say you're like, I don't know, 500 calories or more over, which happens sometimes, we all do it, you are much better off cutting your losses at that point because you're going to have to do a lot of backlog, a lot of work to remedy for the week. What we don't want to do is encourage cycles where we really restrict our food in the week and then really binge on the weekend, and we're kind of constantly chasing our tail and making up for going over all the time. So if you go way over 500 calories plus, I actually would say, you know what? What's done is done. We all make mistakes sometimes. We all screw up sometimes. Draw a line in the sand and just think, meh, I went a little bit out of control yesterday. I'm just going to get back onto it today. Do not starve yourself. Do not skip meals. Do not go and do hours of cardio on the treadmill or anything like that. As we've just talked about, exercise and burning off food doesn't really work in the way that we might necessarily think right now anyway. It's not actually really what happens. But I don't want you to go and do any of that stuff. Again, we don't want exercise or food to be seen as reward or punishment. What I just want you to do is get back to your usual calories, hit your protein, drink lots of water, get your steps in, and get just your routine back the next day. If the scales go up, they probably will if you've gone really over. It's very likely almost all going to be water weight. To gain 1 pound of body fat, 1 pound, you have to eat, I believe it's about 3,000 calories, I think. I think it's about 3,000. You have to eat about 3,000 calories over your maintenance calories. So if you think about the calories that you eat on a daily basis to maintain your current weight, you'd eat that plus roughly another 3,000 calories, which is a lot of food. A lot of food, right? So a scale increase the day after going overboard one day is mainly going to be water. It's going to be because you've had more volume of food, probably more carbs, probably more salt. Maybe you had a late night, maybe you had some booze, maybe your sleep was a bit crap. There's lots of things. You're not suddenly gaining kilos of fat. So that's the first mindset to shift. It's to look at it from a piece of data and think, okay, this isn't really going to be fat gain. There's going to be a lot of water. It will shoot down in a couple of days. But if you go crazy over like that, you just need to focus on being resilient with your mindset. So the old version of you that maybe would go over your calories massively one day, would then freak out and think, oh my God, I've ruined everything, I've done it. Then that get continues you to spiral. Maybe you go completely off kilter and you go over every day for a week. That will impact your progress. But one day over, but having an abundant mindset that went, oh, screwed up yesterday. Oh well, draw a line in the sand, get back to it today. That resilience means that that one day isn't going to impact your progress very much. One day off plan is not going to affect anything. It's about if you let that cause you to spiral and then have a whole week off plan, then we're going to have a problem. So you just need to draw a line in the sand if you massively overeat, accept it, not beat yourself up, don't speak to yourself unkindly, just get straight back to it the next day. That resilience is what drives the results. Your results are not going to be impacted by one day off plan. And we've all been there. Final question. Do I need to eat breakfast to lose weight? Talked to quite a lot of you guys about this week, actually. One of you asked this, but I've talked to quite a lot of you ladies about this. So good question, and I'm happy to talk about it. Again, similar to the first question that came in, which was, does it matter if I eat dinner later? No, you don't have to eat breakfast. Again, the thing that matters is how much you're eating, the overall calories of what you're having in a day. You could technically have one meal a day and it could be all Oreos. If it was your calorie deficit calories, you would lose weight. I guarantee you'd feel pretty shit. You would feel very, very rough, and it's not something I'd recommend. But no, technically, you could not have breakfast. However, for a lot of us, not having breakfast might make weight loss harder. And I'll tell you why. So, you don't have to eat breakfast for fat loss. A lot of you might wake up in the morning and just not be hungry. I'm the same. Adam wakes up in the morning and he's like hungry straight away. And I'm always amazed by that. I'm like, wow, how? I normally don't really get hungry until like I would say 9:30, 10 in the morning. Like I'm absolutely fine not eating up until then. I don't really tend to train in the mornings anymore. So if I was going to the gym, I would make sure I would have something small to eat so I've got good energy for the gym. But I don't. So I tend to kind of have my first meal at like half nine, 10, and I'm really happy with that. So you don't have to eat it. You don't have to eat it really early. But if skipping breakfast entirely leaves you really hungry later, it will make staying in a calorie deficit much harder. So if you're someone that wakes up in the morning, maybe you smash a coffee, you do a whole day at work, a whole morning, you get to lunchtime, you look up from your desk and you're like, oh my God, I'm absolutely ravenous. Staying in a calorie deficit and nailing your calories is going to be a lot harder because your cravings are going wild. You are ravenously hungry. And when you're ravenously hungry, you're not going to suddenly think, oh, I'm just going to calmly get my meal prep out of my bag and eat that. You're going to think, I want to eat anything and everything inside. If someone's bought treats into the office, then suddenly those treats are really appealing. If you've got some stuff in the cupboards, if you work from home, all of a sudden that stuff is all you can think about, and that's really appealing. So it can make being in a calorie deficit harder. For some people, going too long without eating causes energy crashes in the afternoon as well, stronger cravings, like I said, arriving at lunch or dinner absolutely starving, or overeating or binging later. You know, the amount of people that I've spoken to over the years that are like, I just can't stop binging at night. Like I do a whole day, I barely eat all day and I'm so good and I'm so on plan, but then at night time I eat my entire fridge. Well, that's because we're under fueling in the day. So the goal isn't you have to eat breakfast, you've got to eat breakfast at 7 a.m. Absolutely not. And also, whenever I'm doing a calorie deficit, I delay my breakfast purposely. So I don't normally get hungry until like half nine, 10 anyway. When I'm losing weight, I will make sure that my breakfast is kind of like 10, 10:30. I shorten my eating window a little bit because then I find that I feel less hungry. If I was to have my breakfast at 7 a.m. when I'm losing weight, come 11 a.m., I'm going to be absolutely ravenous. This works for me because I'm like, I delay my breakfast a bit. I have a coffee in the morning. I then have my breakfast. I get to lunch, I don't feel too hungry, I have my lunch. That then powers me through till dinner. So you can absolutely delay your eating window a little bit, but I would still encourage you to eat 3 meals a day and have one meal before your lunch when you're losing weight. It's about finding a meal pattern that keeps your hunger and your energy manageable and it helps you to stay consistent with your calories. So if you are someone that never eats breakfast, but you are really struggling to stick to your calories, you're finding it really easy to slip over, hitting your protein goal is really hard as well, then we need to get one more meal in earlier in the day. And just keep it really simple as well. Like we can get really confused with nutrition because there are so many people online telling you different things all the time. And I'm going to tell you this, guys, the diet industry wants you to be confused by nutrition. The diet industry is hoping and praying and relying on the fact that you are confused by nutrition so that overwhelm sets in for you. And then suddenly their magic product that they're selling, which is going to magically promise you the world and help you lose weight, you need to buy it. So they want you to be confused, but do not fall for that marketing. 3 meals a day. Whether your first meal is at 7 a.m., if you wake up really hungry in the morning, good for you. Or if you're a bit like me, you like to delay it and have it at like 10:30, also good for you. But you need 3 meals a day, focusing on adding protein to the plate, fruit and veg. If you get hungry in between those 3 meals and you have the calories spare, add in a snack. Super, super simple. But if skipping breakfast right now is making you lose control later, breakfast is going to be a very useful tool for you. Trust me, I've tried, so many things over the years before I was a coach. I tried intermittent fasting for a while. I've tried like a 48-hour fast, which I would never recommend, by the way. I've tried all these crazy things. I tried intermittent fasting. It didn't work for me because I would be really good up until like half 10, 11. My hunger would set in rapidly and I would be absolutely starving. I would be hangry. I would be miserable to be around. And then when it got to lunch, I would massively overeat. I was literally like stuffing my face. I would eat the lunch I'd brought with me to work. I would then cave and then going out to the shops and getting snacks, like even throwing in an extra coffee there, which was just adding extra calories. For me, it just did not work for me delaying my eating window like that. And I would imagine for a lot of you guys, it's pretty similar. So, in short, no, you don't have to eat breakfast, but if you struggle, if you're not hitting your calories, if you're not hitting your protein, or you're noticing you've got a lot of cravings later in the day, then you need to make sure you get one meal in earlier. Guys, that is everything for this week. Thank you very much for sending in your questions. I absolutely love it when you guys send these in because I like to know that I am helping you as much as possible. So, for all of you here live, I hope this has been really useful. If there is anything that you think, oh, actually, I kind of do want to ask that, and you didn't get time to ask it or to send in a question, then you can always ask me and you can drop me a message. But that is everything. Short and sweet this week. I'm going to let you guys go. Have a great evening, and I'll catch up with you all later in the week.